Hi guys, welcome back to another episode of A Shot at Bliss. This is Yadi.
And I'm Millie. And today's episode is 20s overload. There are so many stresses that are put in our 20s. There's so many things that are put in your 20s that you technically, like everybody knows that you should be accomplishing in your 20s.
Mm-hmm. But is there a certain timeline for these things to be accomplished? Yes and no.
Yeah.
We think there is, but in reality, there isn't. But just the fact of, us knowing or thinking that this is how it should be, it just really kind of gets to us. And it just becomes so stressful to live your life as a 20-year-old.
Yes. And we've got a long list for you guys of all the stresses that are generally put in our 20s by other people, by us,
by society.
Mm-hmm.
And now social media.
Oh, yeah, for sure. How about we start with credit cards?
When did you get your first credit card, Melly?
Let's see. I don't even remember when I got it. I remember getting a whole bunch of mail back in like my teen years to sign up for a credit card. I don't remember when I technically did it, but I think it was somewhere in my 20s.
Mm-hmm. I remember getting my first credit card when I was working at Chase. And I think I was 21. And that's the first time I ever got my first, that's when I got my first credit card. And I still have that credit card. And that was the only credit card I had, I think, for like the longest time. Yeah, I mean, my parents always taught me not to they were never ones to tell me to get credit cards or, to even, they would tell me about, thinking about building my credit, but they just never really encouraged me to get credit cards.
Yeah, so your parents would actually tell you that you needed credit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they would always tell me to take care of my credit once I started, applying for credit cards. And like you, I would also get like those Capital One cards for mail, pre-approving me for credit cards. But, my mom, she was just like, no, like don't, just throw away that mail. It's all garbage. And then I think the only reason why I did apply for one to start building my credit, of course, was because I had somewhat of knowledge, in that area since I was working at Chase and I had, my banker friends and stuff that would tell me. So yeah, I think that was the only reason why I actually went for it, because I was kind of more scared of getting in debt.
You were scared?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I wasn't,
were you scared because your parents were telling you like it can be a scary thing, like you got to be able to manage it and all this stuff?
Mm-hmm. I felt like it was a really big responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
And I just didn't want to think about that.
Yeah.
So I just kind of stayed away, which, at the end of the day, it turned out for the best.
Yeah, same. I don't think my parents really told me that I needed credit or that it was important to get credit, but they would constantly be telling me like, don't get a credit card. You don't need a credit card. What do you need a credit card for? And they would tell me that whenever I did get a credit card, it was important that I would pay it off every month. And anything that I was to purchase on this credit card, it had to be paid off. I had to have enough money in the bank account at that moment to pay it off the next month.
Yeah.
So my first credit card I did end up receiving because I heard from friends that I needed credit. So I finally responded to one of those letters that I was getting from like Capital One, and I applied for it and I got it, but I would like barely use it in the beginning because of the same thing. I was scared, right? Like, at the moment I was in college, so I didn't have much money left over anyways. And anything that I was purchasing, I was just going straight with the debit card because I was like, that's just safer.
Yeah.
So I wasn't even really building credit.
You just had it there just to say you had a credit card.
Yeah. I started hearing about like all the frauds that were going on online. When you would be using your debit card, it was like it could be really bad. So then I started learning that I should be using a credit card. So then I got another credit card that had a better offer than the first one because obviously the first one sucked. It was my first offer. And then I started building my credit that way. But I always stuck with the saying that whatever I put on my card, I had to be able to pay off the next month. So whether that meant I was going to be saving for months and leaving it in my checking account, and then once I had enough money, I would buy it with the credit card and then pay it off because I already had the savings.
Right. Yeah. Same here. They would always tell me, my parents would always tell me, you have to have like the cash in hand. Like if you know you can pay it with, the cash that you have right now, then, go ahead and charge it to your credit card, and just put that money back into your credit card. So basically I grew up with the mentality that if you don't have the cash in hand to pay for whatever you want, then you really can't afford it. which is true. Actually, now that I'm older and I think about it.
Yeah, it's a safe way of using credit cards.
Yeah. But also it's crazy because, I didn't really learn at that age in my early 20s how you can use credit cards to your favor. It was always me being scared to use them because I didn't want to get in debt. And, if you can't afford something, then don't pay for it. And don't charge it to your credit card if you can't afford it, kind of thing. So I never really learned how to use one until I got a little older, probably like my mid-20s.
Yeah, same. And until I finally had some savings to start buying stuff.
Yeah. Right. But I did hear of people who, straight out of high school would just start applying for credit cards, and they would just start charging them. And by the time they were like in their early 20s, they were like in this crazy amount of debt.
Yeah.
And I just never really knew how that happened, right? Because I was always scared of it, but, oftentimes it happens because, you don't really have the knowledge about, credit cards and how to use them. And they were never told by their parents.
Yeah.
So now that I know, it's important to start our kids young and teach them.
Yeah. But yeah, it can be a stress in your 20s when you had that debt of your credit card, from when you first got it. It's crazy because credit card debt, it just keeps growing.
Yeah. And even if you close them and you have that debt, it could really affect your credit. And, once you're prepared to, take another step forward and, decide to buy your house or something, oftentimes you don't have the credit to do so. And it usually happens because of, decisions you made when you were younger, in your early 20s. And, again, you just didn't really know.
It's just the scariness of not knowing how to handle a credit card, which you and me stayed away from it. But some people not knowing just made them go into credit card, go into credit cards even more or rely on them even more. Oh, in your 20s, you also get asked a lot about college and school. When are you going to go? Well, if you're in school, when are you going to graduate? If you're not in school, are you going to go to school? What school are you going to? What are you going to study? All of these questions you get bombarded with regarding school.
Yeah. And then after you finish school, it's, if you usually majored in something that you love, it's a decision of, whether you're going to go to grad school, whether you're going to, continue school and, get your major or, pursue something else.
What's next?
What is next? Also, some people I know that continue school just because they don't want to,
they don't want the
debt.
Yeah.
Or the debt.
Wait, what? They continue school to not face the debt, but then they accumulate
they don't
more.
Get charged. Yeah, but then I guess the point is so they just won't get charged. I have an auntie that she's still, taking classes. She has her master's and she's still pursuing, school just because she doesn't want to pay it off.
I have never heard
I
of
strongly
that.
believe it's because she's such a nerd, and she just loves learning, taking different classes and stuff. So that's her way of just avoiding it completely.
Avoiding the debt.
Yeah.
That's funny. Some people decide to go to grad school just because they don't want to face reality. They don't want to face the real world, what's next? What job am I going to work in? And like you said, face the debt. College is another one that can bring a lot of stress in your early 20s. And if you haven't graduated in your early 20s, then there's a lot of stress for you to graduate in your 20s.
And you see everyone graduating and you're just, wondering when you're going to graduate. And not just you, your parents, your family. So when is it your turn?
Yeah.
Right? But then again, guys, we have to remember there is no timeline.
Yeah, there is no timeline with school. Or there can be many factors that come into play into how soon you can graduate school. And I know for me, I took a little longer in school because I wanted to try a different career. I wanted to try a different career while I could, and it was still inexpensive because I was in community college. And so that took up a year of my time. And then also for me, it was also that I started working and I wasn't able to keep up with the coursework. So I had to go into part-time instead of full-time. So it took me an extra year again. So I ended up graduating after, I think it was 6 years instead of the regular 4 years.
And how did that affect you? Did you ever think of, just because everyone was graduating sooner?
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely felt the pressure because everybody was graduating way before me. And I was like, that's awesome for them. But I was like, I just can't do it. I know what pace I can do and I'm doing it, this is as fast as I can go. And also because I also didn't really want to face reality after college yet. I was liking, going to school and Like, not the homework part and all that, but I was liking the fact that I had a plan and I knew where I was going, and that was good for now. And I didn't really want to go into what was next after that. So I kind of did take my time in college and try to enjoy the time that I was there.
Yeah, see, and that's awesome,
Yeah.
right? Because you didn't really think much. I mean, you saw everyone else graduating, but you didn't think much of it because you knew you had a plan. You knew where you were headed. So, I mean, I think as long as you know.
And I also knew I was going as fast as I could to keep up with the work. Like, I couldn't handle.
You were doing your best.
I was doing my best. And that was okay for me. Even though I still felt the pressure from other people because they were graduating sooner. And I was one of like the last ones to graduate. I still felt the pressure, but at the end of the day, I had to remember that I was doing my best and I was going as fast as I could. And I knew I had an end date. It was just not here yet.
Yeah. So it was just the constant reminder of, you knowing that you're doing your best.
Yeah.
And not compare yourself to others.
Try not to compare yourself because, they say like comparison is a thief of joy.
Yes.
Like, it can get in your head, but you need to analyze you. You just need to work on you no matter what's going around, with your friends or with your family or with other people. Like, you got to focus on what you can do.
Yeah. And again, I think I'm going to be saying this throughout the podcast, but throughout this episode. But everyone has a different timeline. We have to remember that. And now I feel like it's, with social media, it's just so big. And, there's TikTok now and Instagram and Facebook, and you see everyone doing all kinds of things, right? And we just have to remind ourselves that they only show us what they want to show us. And, we have to remind ourselves not to compare ourselves to anybody else because we don't know.
You don't know the whole story.
We don't know the whole story. We don't know what it took for them to get where they are. We don't know what it didn't take for them to get where they are. So just as long as we know that we're doing our best, it's okay to go at your pace. You don't have to go at anybody else's pace.
Yeah. And after college, I remember there was a lot of people also buying a new car. And I know in your 20s, it's so common. So many people get a new car. And all I can remember was thinking, even my boyfriend wanted one. And I was like, no, don't do it. Don't do it. All because I remember hearing like the fact that when you buy a new car, as soon as you drive off the lot, it's worth like so much less.
Yeah, it just devalues.
It doesn't make any sense.
No, it doesn't.
Especially for me as an accountant, I was like, that doesn't make any sense. Like, why would I do that?
Right. And that goes back to, credit cards. Like, oftentimes we don't know what we're getting ourselves into. We just want what everybody else has.
Yeah, everybody else comes around and says, oh, my payment's only this. And to you at the moment, it may not seem like a lot, but you don't know what's coming up ahead in your life. And you might have other expenses, and all of a sudden it's too many expenses and you're not making any savings anymore.
Definitely. If you don't have the money in hand, it means you can't afford it.
Yeah.
I kind of live by that. Other people might think that because they get approved for something, they can afford it. Yeah. But like Melly said, you don't know what's coming up. You don't know what the near future holds for you. So it's just easier to live within your means.
It's definitely riskier to buy a new car when you don't know, what your day-to-day is going to look like in the future.
Yeah. And oftentimes it happens just because you see everyone else getting new cars. Right?
Yeah, when you see everybody else doing something, you're kind of thinking like, oh, am I supposed to be doing that?
Yeah.
Right?
Should I get myself a new car too?
Yeah, like if they can do it, I can do it, right? Yeah. But sometimes...
And it doesn't mean you can't do it.
Yeah.
But is it the smart choice?
Exactly.
Is it the choice for you?
Yeah, is it the right choice for you at that moment? Like maybe it was the right choice for your friend at that moment, but for you, your finances may not look the same as his or hers. And, you can't do it at this time.
Yeah, and that's okay. So how long did you have your car for? Your little commuter car?
Well, I never had a car of my own. My parents always provided one. Yeah.
Okay.
So they helped me out a lot during college. They gave me a little car and I had that one for a few years, and then they sold that car and they got me another little car because they got a better deal. And then they sold that car. And so my family always had like an extra car. And that's the car that I would be driving.
So you're really blessed, Melly, because there's a lot of people that actually,
No, they had to buy a car in order to go to school or whatever it was. Yeah, I know. I was one of the lucky ones.
Yeah. Because now thinking about it, you know, there are a lot of people that don't have that, you know, the luxury where they, you know, get a car gifted to them. So, and they don't have the money in hand either.
Yeah.
So, you know, the only way they can get a car is by leasing it or, you know, financing it. But hey, if that's the case, then finance a, you know, a small old car.
Yeah.
You can finance, you know, older cars, those used cars, and you won't get yourself in too much debt. And honestly, I think that's the wisest choice.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's really lucky of you.
Yeah. What about you?
That's cute. Me, I remember getting my first car in high school, and I think I put like $500 down, and then my parents paid for the rest. And that was my car. I had it for about 2 years. And then when I went off to college, my parents sold it because I wasn't going to need it in the city. And then when I came back, I didn't have a car. So my auntie, she was like in the middle of like buying a new car. So she sold me her older one.
Yeah.
And then I had that one. And then I remember I got in this car accident and it got totaled. So then I had to get myself another car. Wow. So then, and then I bought like my little RAV4 that I had for like the longest time. And yeah, that's what I used all the time. So again, I never financed a car when I was younger because again, I was always scared of debt. Yeah. And I just didn't feel the need to, you know, I was not going to pay. I was not going to have a payment. I feel like that's just so, I'm cheap that way.
Yeah, maybe that's what we are. Let's call it for real. We're just cheap.
No, I think it's smart though. I think it's smart. You know, I wouldn't get myself in a payment. And I feel like I had that knowledge back when I was, you know, in my early 20s. So why would I do that, you know, as I got older? If I couldn't afford it, you know? We want to take a minute to tell you a little bit about our podcast journey. We have been loving doing these podcasts for you guys. And honestly, we don't think we would have been loving it this much if it wouldn't have been made this easy for us. So if it has ever crossed your mind to start a podcast, we want to tell you, go for it. And do it with Buzzsprout.
We did lots of research and watched videos and read many reviews, and nothing compared to Buzzsprout. Buzzsprout has made it so easy to launch, promote, and track our podcast. Everything on the website is as easy as one click of a button. From uploading your first episode to getting your podcast on all the major podcast platforms like Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and many more.
But tracking the podcast progress has definitely been our favorite feature on the Buzzsprout website, as it breaks it down into top apps, top episodes, and what part of the world people are listening in, all with the exact numbers.
So follow the link in the description to let Buzzsprout know that we sent you, and to give you a $20 Amazon gift card if you sign up for a paid plan, all while helping support our show. Join us in the podcasting world made easy with Buzzsprout. I know I have a pressure of finding my like forever job, like the job that I'm going to be sticking with. And I know I've mentioned this in the podcast before, like I didn't know which way to go. Do I go my career route? Do I go into a different one? Like, you know, I have a current job. Do I stay in that career and grow in that one? It's like completely different than my actual, like what I studied, you know? So it's like, which route am I going to go with and which route am I going to stay with? And I have this pressure of finding it before I turn 30. And I think I have that pressure of finding it before I turn 30 because I want to have everything settled before I start a family or like get married or anything like that.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I feel like that's a pressure for a lot of people. I feel like 30, just for some reason, when you're in your early 20s, 30 seems like, okay, we're old.
Yeah.
Right? Like we're getting old. It's like middle age for us, right?
Yeah.
But then as you kind of get closer to your 30s, you're just like, there's more pressure to just feel like you've made it. You're kind of accomplished in a way.
Really?
But when you're...
Maybe that's just you, Yeti, because right now I'm like freaking out that I'm like 3 years away from 30.
Do you think so? No, but maybe we should.
To freak out.
We should be feeling that way.
What?
Once we're hitting 30s.
Well, we kind of are.
Maybe. I don't know. It's funny because now that you mentioned about the pressure of what career to take or which direction to go in, I remember like when I was I was out of high school. My parents are small business owners of 2 different businesses, and I remember that was one of the pressures. Now that I think back, of like taking on the family business and helping them grow it. And for a while I was doing that just because I had already been helping my mom out since I was younger, and so I knew what she was doing. I knew everything. I knew the company very well. So it came easy to me. And at some point I felt like, okay, I can do this. I want to do this. But, life just kind of takes you, life throws things at you. And oftentimes, things just kind of turn out not the way you expected them.
Yeah.
So then it no longer fits in your life anymore, right? I think it was after I had Catalina, I just felt like that's not something I wanted to do anymore.
Yeah.
And then
I even remember your parents telling me and like my parents that, you were really good at working with them.
Yeah.
And you did really well there, but you just didn't want to do it anymore.
Yeah.
And they couldn't understand you. But it's like, it depends on you.
Yeah. And see, after I had my daughter, I remember thinking, okay, you know what? I'm going to change my career and I'm going to go into teaching, because if I can be like a teacher, like at a small private school, I can get my daughter in. And I was just thinking about her now. And I was like, we'll have the same vacations, we'll have the same schedule. And that's all I could think about. But then again, was it something I wanted to do? Right.
Yeah.
And then obviously what my husband was doing, that was something else. So it's like, sometimes we want to do things not really for ourselves, but just, how they're most convenient for you now.
Yeah.
Right. So sometimes if you're like me, where, like you have, you got married at an earlier age, like in your early 20s, and you had kids in your early 20s, it's no longer what you want, what career path you want to take or what you want to do, but how it's what you can do.
So what's going to fit into your life.
Yeah. And what's most convenient for your family, for your kids, for yourself. So sometimes, we don't have that luxury to, think of what we want to do. Yeah. So that was pretty stressful at the beginning, to just think of like, oh my gosh, like, what am I going to do? I was thinking of when my daughter's 4, I mean, she was only a few months old, but stuff that you just think about. Yeah. And I think that's the first time ever in my life that I started thinking about the future like that.
Yeah. And it only came because of your daughter.
And it only came because of my daughter.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I've always been a live in the moment type of gal. And to this day, I still consider myself like that.
Yeah.
So having to think of like the future, like 5 years ahead, it's
when you're not used to it, right? Yeah. I can imagine.
It's stressful for me. It really is. I mean, we have plans and, my husband and I do the best we can to like, stay on track. But really, like, honestly, like all those, like what we do, what it takes to like plan for it, it's so stressful for me. It's not fun for me.
Yeah.
But it's just whatever works for you guys.
And then sometimes you have to, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes you have to do stuff that isn't fun for you, even though it's stressful.
But you got to do it.
Yeah. Part of growing up.
So yeah, finding your forever job can definitely be stressful.
In your 20s. There's also the stress of traveling in your 20s. Everybody says you should travel in your 20s. Like traveling in your 20s is when you can find yourself, or when you can see the world in a different way. Sometimes in your 20s, or at least in your early 20s, maybe you can't afford it. And you have all these stresses of you. Yeah, you have all these other stresses that don't allow you to travel.
And sometimes when you're like in, like your mid-20s, graduated, and it's like the perfect time to travel, sometimes you don't even have the job to help you with your traveling expenses, right? Yeah. Because you just, whatever you're doing right now, it's just, you can't afford it. And not just that, but sometimes, say that your timeline didn't go as, you planned, and you graduated a little bit later, and then you're planning to travel, but you're already in your mid-20s. And by that time, you're also thinking about, probably settling down soon before your 30s. Like Melly, she wants to do everything before her 30s.
I know. I want to finish everything before 30. Just putting way more stress on myself.
Sometimes, there's this battle between wanting to travel and wanting to settle down soon.
Yeah.
So you have to, I guess, put in balance, like what is...
Like, do you want to travel? Do you want to continue traveling? Or do you want to focus on trying to settle down and like start a family and all that?
Hey, but what if you find the love of your life in a different country?
Exactly. Like, you never know where it could happen. Yeah. You never know how. And, it's just like in the stars already for you. Like, you can't plan any of this. Like, it's not either one or the other. Like, sometimes things just happen because they're meant to happen.
Which is why you guys got to live in the moment. And which is why you got to travel while you plan on settling down.
Do both of them together.
Yeah, why not?
I mean, yeah, as a planner, I say, yeah, try to live more in the moment because it's important. Your 20s are a special time, and planning it all the time isn't always good.
Yeah. And even though planning for the future is obviously such a great thing to do. And it's, like if you're a planner, that's such a great quality that you were gifted with. Because, non-planners sometimes find themselves in like these chaotic moments and, just chaotic thoughts because you don't plan for things. You're just kind of thinking randomly and wanting to do everything at once. And, so, it's such a good quality to be able to plan for your future. But it's also really important to be able to just enjoy the moment, enjoy school while you're, in school, because school is really fun, like you get to do so many things. You get to meet so many new people. So, enjoy school. And if you want to travel, go ahead and travel if you can. If you have the money to do so, and if you have the people to do so, or you just, you're more of a
travel solo.
Yeah. If you're okay with being alone, you're independent enough, then go ahead and travel alone, and still, plan for whatever comes next, right? But just make sure you do what you want to do and you're enjoying it, because there's no point in doing things and not even enjoying them while you're doing them. It's kind of like a waste of time.
Yeah. And I know for me, it's as a planner, like I said, I can get wrapped up in the planning and in what's next, that sometimes I just get so much into planning that I never enjoy what I accomplished. I never enjoy like, oh, I completed this. No, I'm like, I completed this. What's next? It can be a vicious cycle.
Yeah.
A vicious cycle of stressfulness and unhappiness.
Yeah. And never feeling accomplished.
Yeah. And then I know another stress in our 20s. And mostly, I know like us Latinas always get told like, te estás quedando, and like, you need to get married soon.
Se te está pasando el tren.
Yeah. Oh no. Yeah, that's another one that can get under your skin too.
But it's funny because say that you're like 25 or younger, it's like you're too young. Mija, vive la vida, like you gotta, experience life, party, you're young, no te cases, why do you want a boyfriend? And then as soon as you hit 25, 26, they're like, what's going on? Why don't you have a boyfriend? Why haven't we met anybody yet? Like, don't you have any plans of like getting married?
Yeah.
And it's like, what happened to like, there's like no in between,
I know.
It's like you're either too young or you're getting too old.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's definitely a pressure.
I don't know. It's just super stressful.
Marriage and, having, starting a family. Oh man, that's a stress.
And if you get married, they already start asking you, when are you going to have kids? When are you going to have when are you going to start a family?
Yeah. But what happened to, finding the love of your life and, marrying and traveling together? I mean, that's
enjoying just being married and being the two of you for a while.
Yeah.
Right? I would love that.
That's something that you guys, you guys can definitely do. And I think that, being able to travel with your significant other is just, it's so awesome. Like why it's just better than traveling alone. So,
well, that's what marriage is, right? To enjoy all the moments together.
Right. And so, for those of you who are struggling with, wanting to travel, but also wanting to settle down and feeling like if you settle down, you can't travel.
Well, COVID made that decision for you.
Right. Yeah, but you can totally travel after you're married.
Yeah, it's never a one or the other. You can totally mix them, yeah.
Yeah. So sometimes we put too much pressure on ourselves.
Yeah. And we make it seem like it's one or the other.
Yeah. And it doesn't necessarily have to be one or the other.
No, just take a step back and be like, I can do both still. Like if I really want to travel, I'll go travel. And if I find somebody, I can still travel, you know?
We'll travel together.
And then after marriage comes a house.
Yeah. Buying a house. And see, that's something that you have to prepare for. It's not something that, you kind of wake up when you're 26 and be like, I'm going to buy a house.
No, it's not a quick decision. It's a lot of time.
Planning. You have to just put everything in order,
Savings. Yeah.
Credit, everything. So it's stuff that, again, goes back to why your 20s can be so stressful. Because in your early 20s, you're thinking of, your credit card debt or college or getting a new car or finding your dream job. But you also have to be preparing yourself to buy a home, to be able to buy a home also in your 20s.
And maybe you have already started a family and now you have a family that you're trying to like get into a home, but you have all these financial expenses with your family, your current family, you know, that it makes it harder for you to buy a house or whatever it is.
Yeah.
But it's just there's so many stresses in your 20s and we have this pressure of wanting to do everything before 30. And it's really not that much of time. Like it's really hard to do everything before you're 30. I know, you guys. Not saying it's impossible because I've seen many people do it, but I know for me, it may not be possible. Like it's just, you know, it depends on how you plan and what life throws at you. Like so many different factors.
And also when it involves another person. So say your significant other doesn't want to have kids before they're 30. Yeah. They're not prepared to buy a house before they're 30. Yeah. They don't want to get married before they're 30, right? Like you guys are 28 and he's like, you know, or she's like, I don't know, maybe another 2 years. And you're just like, wait, but I'm almost 30 and I want to have kids before then. Yes. So sometimes it's not
just described like my life.
So sometimes it's not even about like you anymore. You know, once you get older, you find that, you know, person that you want to be with for the rest of your life and they're not on the same page. Yeah. You know, it just kind of throws everything off, right? Yeah. There goes your plan.
Exactly. Sometimes you plan and you know, sometimes things just don't go the way you planned.
Right.
And, you know, it's okay because I feel like we plan so much, but there's a plan out there for us already. We just don't know it.
Yeah. And sometimes I feel like we get stressed out because things aren't going according to plan.
Of course.
Right? Because sometimes they do go according to plan. And for some people, you know, the really lucky ones, everything goes according to plan. And then they're 30 and they have everything that they thought they would. Right?
That they wanted.
Yeah. So, you know, for those people, their 20s was probably chilling, right? Like they were just, you know, everything was cool, whatever. So not everyone has that, or, you know, not everyone's plan goes that smoothly.
Yeah.
So again, we just got to remember everything at its time. Like Melly said, you're going to be where you're supposed to be at the end of the day, regardless of what you planned for or what you didn't plan for.
You have to put your trust in God, in the universe, whatever you believe in, because you're going to end up where you need to end up.
But remember that we don't mean don't work for things. Yeah. We're not saying, oh, you can just sit there, chill, and it's just all going to happen and you're going to end up where you're going to be. No, like, we mean me being the type of person who just kind of, you know, likes to live and enjoy day by day. Just as long as you know that you are trying your best day in and day out. As long as you know that
you're putting your effort in and maybe you're planning things.
Yeah, even in the smallest way. Every single day you get up and you do what you can to be better, you know, to better yourself, to grow in one way or another, to work towards your goal, you will eventually get there. Yeah. And everything will eventually fall in its place.
All these stresses put in our 20s, and within 10 years, we need to accomplish, well, the majority of us said this, for us to accomplish all these things in 10 years. And if not, other things also that are thrown in our lives during that time.
Sometimes tragedies happen that we're not, you know, we don't obviously plan for. You know, we didn't mention these just because they're not as common, and neither Melly or I have like experience in this area, but we know that there are things out there that happen. You know, your life just totally takes a, you know, a different turn. Again, you know, we just need to remember that put your trust in whatever you do trust in. You know, for me, it's God. And I know that whatever is going on in your life, you're supposed to be in that situation for a reason, and oftentimes we don't know what that reason is, but later on we will figure that out, you know, and we will think back to that specific time where, you know, this happened to us, this horrible tragedy, or, you know, if, you know, you just haven't gone through a tragedy, it's just, you know, your stresses because of all the things that are put in our 20s, you'll think back and you'll know this is exactly why things went this way. And this is why it happened this way, because this is where it got me to today.
Yeah.
But remember, guys, that amidst all of this, you also have to have fun.
Not to stress you guys out even more and add more to your list.
But just remember to add, you know, that thing. Have fun.
And don't forget that having fun can help you find yourself during your 20s.
No, yeah, definitely.
And, whichever way you take life in, whether you're like Yadi and you take it day by day, or if you're like me and you plan it, like you have to find your balance, And I know for me, in order to find my balance as a planner, I literally plan for fun. I have set for every birthday to do something crazy and like out there that I like challenge myself to do, like something I wouldn't normally do, just because I know that I want to enjoy my 20s and this is the time to do those kind of things. And so I literally have to plan it, you guys. I have to put it in my goals. Otherwise, I'll probably skip over it and I'll miss it in my 20s.
Yeah.
That's just who I am as a planner.
That's crazy. But I think that's awesome though. The little, tradition you have going on with doing something crazy on your birthday every single year. That's really awesome because living your life day by day is not easy either. Planners might think so, but it's not, because sometimes, we don't plan for things. So sometimes things come and go and we're just like, oh shit, we could have done this. We could have done that. But damn it, I didn't plan for it. So, well, next time, acknowledging, what type of person you are is already a big step towards the right direction.
And it can help you find your balance. You'll know how you have to work at or what you have to work in to get a balance in your life.
Yeah. It comes down to just wanting to continue to grow, right? Wanting to continue to, explore thoughts, yourself. You didn't know about credit cards when you were younger, but now you do. So now you do better. Just bettering yourself, learning. And I think, you'll just kind of figure it out on the way. Figure it out on your way. What song is that? Lizzie McGuire.
Really?
Yeah.
How do you even remember that? All right, guys. So hopefully we didn't stress you out even more.
But hopefully we got you thinking about things that you hadn't thought about before. Don't forget to like and subscribe on our YouTube channel, guys. Now we have this really cool after show that we're doing for each of our episodes called the ASAB After Show. So go ahead and check us out on YouTube and like, subscribe, comment. Let us know what you think and what you guys would like to hear. And don't forget to rate us on wherever you listen to our podcast.
And that's it for today, guys. We'll catch you on the next one.
Bliss out, guys.
Bliss out.